Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the third public information meeting for the NEPA design phase of the Arlington Avenue Bridges project. I'm Judy Tortelli, project manager for the RTC. You are watching a pre-recorded presentation that will run until June 30th. This third public information meeting does not have an in-person event. At the end of this meeting is a link to provide your questions and comments. Due to the amount of information I want to share with you, the material is broken up into 5 mini presentations. This provides you the flexibility to choose which topic you want to learn more about. This mini presentation includes information about the 90% design. The final design is a culmination of all the input received during several public, agency, and design team meetings. Here is a list of the meetings that we've had to date. That's over 60 meetings during the past year. Let me touch on a few highlights. 2 public meetings provided community feedback that determined the final bridge aesthetics. Monthly design review and utility coordination meetings provided opportunities to discuss the design with the agencies to ensure consistent endorsement as the design has progressed. Several hydraulic modeling meetings with the City of Reno, Carson-Truckee Water Conservancy District, and the Truckee River Flood Management Authority were held to ensure consensus on the hydraulic design criteria and results. Multiple meetings have focused on the environmental review and permitting. These meetings help ensure RTC is meeting all necessary requirements. With the change from 2 piers in the river for the North Bridge to just 1, the original whitewater kayak park designer was added to the design team to modify the drop structure of the kayak park just upstream of the North Bridge. In addition to public and agency coordination, I would like to highlight several project constraints that have also shaped our project into its final design configuration. The environmental constraints include the project being located within the boundary of a U.S. Army Corps Civil Works project defined by the 14,000 cubic feet per second floodway. This limits the ability for changes such as placing additional embankment within the project limits. Several parks and recreational facilities are located within the project limits, including Wingfield Park, Barbara Bennett Park, the Riverwalk, and the Truckee River Whitewater Park. Protection of endangered species is required during the initial investigations for final design components and when defining constraints on the construction means and methods. Some of the design constraints include the height and location of the existing flood walls along the edges of the Truckee River Channel that limit opportunities to lengthen the bridges and provide additional capacity for higher water flows. Placement of additional dirt fill within the floodway is restricted due to increased flooding and Army Corps permit requirements. Nearby adjacent buildings and the built-out nature of the project area make increasing the bridge height or raising up the roadway impractical. Adversely affecting flooding outside of the project limits is another design constraint. Maintaining the existing functionality of Wingfield Park with regards to pedestrian access and downtown special events. Based on the survey results from the August 2022 pre-recorded presentation and in-person public meeting, the bridge aesthetics will consist of an all-metal railing, custom light columns, and tall end pylons. Here is a photo rendering with the chosen aesthetics applied to both the north and south bridges, looking eastward toward downtown Reno. Here is a zoomed-in view of the photo rendering with the chosen aesthetics applied to the South Bridge. And here is a zoomed-in view of the photo rendering with the chosen aesthetics applied to the North Bridge. Here is a park level view of the photo rendering with the chosen aesthetics applied to the North Bridge. You can see the form liner patterning applied to the end of the center pier and the path under the south end of the North Bridge. Here is a zoomed in rendering of the North Bridge overlooks with the custom light columns and all metal railings. The concrete faces of the bridge abutments and center pier of the North Bridge will be patterned. The bridge abutments are located at both ends of the bridges and act as retaining walls, restricting earth and fill to provide structural support. This slide shows the pattern that will be applied to either side of the center pier of the North Bridge. For the abutment walls of the North and South bridges, we are working with the City of Reno to solicit public artist design ideas that meet our project specifications, are compatible with the patterning on the center pier of the North Bridge, and meet the approved modern art deco aesthetic theme. This slide shows the available canvas at the North Bridge abutments. This slide shows the available canvas at the South Bridge abutments. We will include a link to the City of Reno solicitation on our project website at www.arlingtonavenue.com when it's available. Here's an overview of our current project design: the maintenance access ramp located off of Island Avenue and the project improvements along Arlington Avenue. First, let's look closer at the maintenance access ramp. At the City of Reno's request, we are widening and realigning the existing ADA-compatible pedestrian ramp to allow maintenance access to the river. With this design, an excavator or other equipment will be able to enter the river channel, while a dump truck can back down the ramp to be filled by an excavator. The slope of the ramp will still be ADA compatible with landing areas appropriately spaced along the ramp, serving the dual purpose of 1, increased pedestrian access, and 2, maintenance access to the river channel. To maintain the hydraulic capacity of the river, a retaining wall is required. The wall runs along the beginning of the ramp, as seen in black, until the elevation difference limits the amount of fill required. Now let's take a look along Arlington Avenue. Starting at the south end, or left edge of the slide, the intersection will be repaved as a result of the impacts when constructing the South Bridge abutment. We are adding a striped pedestrian crosswalk across the north side of Island Avenue intersection, so all 4 legs will be clearly marked. The sidewalk bump outs you see at the south side of the South Bridge are still a work in progress. We are working to increase pedestrian circulation and minimize or eliminate these bump outs to ensure there is adequate room for fire truck turning movements. In between the bridges, the roadway area is widened, serving a dual purpose. 1, providing additional room for Route 6 transit stops in both directions. And 2, maintaining room for loading zone areas within the project limits. The existing path connectivity to the sidewalk along Arlington will be perpetuated, as will the path under the south end of the North Bridge. The sidewalk along Arlington will be 8 feet wide to accommodate the high pedestrian usage within Wingfield Park. A continuous 5-foot bike lane with a 2-foot striped buffer from the travel lane will further enhance multimodal safety through the park. The lane configuration provides a dedicated left turn pocket at both Island Avenue and West First Street, with a shared through right lane in both directions. The hydraulic models were updated with a 60% bridge design to evaluate the 2 required scenarios. The first scenario is the Carson-Truckee Water Conservancy District's 14,000 cubic feet per second flow, as they are the local representative of the Army Corps. This is similar to a 50-year storm event. As you can see, the proposed inundation boundary limits, shown in pink, are essentially equal to the existing inundation limits, shown in green. There are a few places where the proposed design reduces the inundation limits. The blue area indicates a decrease in the water surface elevation up to approximately 1/10 of a foot. The area of red just downstream of the North Bridge indicates a localized increase in water surface elevation as a result of slightly increasing the hydraulic capacity under the bridge, but then conforming back to the existing channel geometry. To summarize, the flooding impacts within and adjacent to the project area will remain the same after the bridges are replaced. The second scenario we are required to evaluate is the 100-year storm event. As a requirement of the City of Reno in conjunction with the Truckee River Flood Management Authority. As you can see, the proposed inundation boundary limits shown in purple, which are hidden under the green lines, are essentially equal to the existing inundation limits, shown in green. The blue area indicates a decrease in the water surface elevation up to approximately 1/10 of a foot. The area of red just downstream of the North Bridge indicates a localized increase in water surface elevation as a result of slightly increasing the hydraulic capacity under the bridge, but then conforming back to the existing channel geometry. Similar to the 14,000 cubic feet per second flow, the flooding impacts within and adjacent to the project area will remain the same after the bridges are replaced. This figure shows the streetscape elements along Arlington Avenue over the Truckee River between Island Avenue and First Street, with north pointing to the right. Sidewalk areas between First Street and Island Avenue will be reconstructed as part of the project. Elements included with this work are large canopy shade trees placed at approximately 30 feet on center spacing between existing trees and between the bridges. These are indicated by the lighter green tree symbols. This is based on the City of Reno's goal to increase the shade tree coverage, meet city code requirements, and reduce the urban heat island within the city limits. Existing trees in the dark green color will be protected and maintained where possible. However, approximately 13 trees require removal, indicated by the light red X, because they are extremely close to either the sidewalk, abutment, or flood wall reconstruction areas, or they are already dead or dying. These trees will be replaced with shade trees. We are planning to plant 19 new trees, so a net gain of 6 trees within the project limits. Sidewalks are planned to have a diagonal joint patterns and medium gray concrete color. The diagonal joint patterns are accents that complement the bridge railing designs. This figure shows the pedestrian lighting to be used in coordination with the custom light columns on the bridges. The lighting goal is to light both the sidewalks and the street. The first image shows the post top light that will be used along Arlington Avenue between the bridges. The middle image shows the continuous under rail lighting that will be used on both bridges. The last image is an example of the uplighting that will be placed along the path under the North Bridge. Here is the link to our survey where you can submit questions or comments, stay informed by joining our email list, and tell us what construction information updates you'd like to receive. The survey will be open until June 30th. Once it's closed, the team will compile the questions and comments received, and responses will be posted on the website in August. You can also check out the project website anytime to get the latest information. That's here at www.arlingtonbridges.com. Thank you for your participation, and please complete our survey to provide your input by June 30th.